Part 3 of the Saturn M.G.U review. We've already been through the frame details, the build, the motor, the gearbox, the belt drive, all that stuff. Now we're going to have a bit more of a look at the suspension and kinematics. First up, the Fox 38 fork. This is the first time I've been riding the Fox 38 fork. It's got rave reviews everywhere. It's pretty good. I'm not incredibly impressed, but like always, with any suspension, send it off to your local tuner, get it checked, get the bushing sized, get the air spring dialed, get the damping dialed for your weight and your riding style. Go from there. Anyone that I know that's into motocross, they buy a brand new motocross bike, suspension off to the tuner, back on the bike, then they go and ride it. A lot of people in mountain biking would have a much better bike if they did that from the start. Obviously, we never do it because we're too excited to go riding, but if you're disciplined enough, get your new bike, get the suspension done. The fork does feel pretty good. We've got the recommended pressure in it. I can't get anywhere near full travel. There's 3 tokens in there. I'm getting about 145 travel maximum. I did try and take some tokens out. I got my big 300mm Nipex on there, and this was really tight, and I was scared to open it up and damage it because it's not my bike, it's a test bike. Of course, I've got 20 different sockets downstairs. Not one of them fits the 38 fork. I'd say it's a good fork. It could be better. If you put a coil spring in there, it'd definitely be better. It would just give you some more mid-stroke support. Here, I'm running the correct sag, but I'm not using the full travel, and it's also sitting in the middle of the air spring curve a little bit. Damper feels good, but again, nearly fully closed. Just feels a little bit soft to me. It doesn't quite feel as good as the other tuned suspension I've got, but it's not really fair to compare a stock fork against a tuned fork. So get the stock fork tuned and you'll have better performance. Fork stiffness does feel a little bit stiff at the lower of the fork to me, but I do ride upside down forks. I prefer the feel of an upside down fork. Gives you more stiffness up here, more stiffness under braking, and as you work your way down towards the contact patch of the tyre, which is where you want it to conform and grip, you get better feeling, better grip on a upside down fork, in my opinion. If I was building one of these tomorrow, I would also go for a 170mm travel, just to jack it up a little bit higher at the front, because this bike's got massive capability for enduro downhill riding, so jack up the front a little bit, 10mm travel, sorted. Rear shock has possibly blown up already, which is something that's been happening with Fox shocks for the last couple of years. I don't know if it has, but there's definitely some oil rocking around in there. Rear shock, coil spring, so they're all the same. Damping, again, just a little bit soft. I believe these shocks are quite easily tunable, so if you send it off to a tuner, you would get the correct tune for your weight and the bike. It'll be a much better setting from the same shock. It's got a climb twitch, makes a bit of difference when you're climbing uphill, but this bike pedals so well. Generally, you don't need to worry about a climb switch on the bike. The extra momentum and speed you get from the motor means you get less bob when you're pedaling, and obviously you've got a motor, so you don't care so much about efficiency, but this bike climbs really well, really stable. No real bob. It also seems to pedal well when you're over the motor limit cut off. Above 25 k's, still seems to pedal pretty well to me. Anti-rise, I believe, is about 60%. I prefer anti-rise to be more around 100%, just so your chassis geometry is preserved under braking. This will give you a more free rear suspension movement, but you can get a bit of pitch forward, especially if your fork sort of bogging a little bit too much into the mid-stroke like this one. Linkage, a little bit progressive for my liking. I prefer more linear bike. I like linear front and rear. I think it gives you a more sort of racy feel, gives you better feedback, makes it easier to predict what's going to happen. That's something you can improve working with a shock tune, and it is sort of in line with most other bikes that people will have been riding recently. So that's it. Overall, extremely impressed with this bike. It's probably the best production mountain bike I've ever had. E-bike, flies up the hills, makes your life easy for going for a ride, especially when you're getting older, or you're spending all your time on the computer. You just want to do a quick 1 hour, 1 hour and a half blast in the evening. E-bike wins every time. Super quiet, low maintenance, the shifting's amazing. Lack of cleaning is amazing, lack of servicing, amazing. Geometry, really good. Suspension, really good overall. Anything I critiqued in this video, I'm just talking about little percentages. I know it can be a little bit better with a little bit of work. Nicolai build quality, Nicolai finish options. Most of the parts are really good. Anything I would change is for personal preference. The only thing I'd like to see really is 27.5 rear wheel. I'm not sure if that's possible officially. And I'd like to see a 170mm travel fork. I would absolutely happily ride it like this for years. But I just know more performance could be squeezed out of it, and that's what I'm here to do on this channel, try and get the best out of the bikes that we can. Thanks for watching this video. Quick reminder, if you want to win a Nicolai Saturn M.G.U frame kit, which includes the motor, the gearbox, battery, belt drive, all that stuff, worth £7,500. You can go to the link in the description below and buy a ticket, support independent reviews, and win yourself the absolute latest e-bike tech. Look out for the next video, which is riding with GoPro chat, and also an Ask Me Anything, where I answer your listener questions. On to the next one.